And we are back with another tactics video. This one is a beauty. Once again, I know from the looks of it, it just looks like a defensive shell formation, not much of an attack. You can see where the game explains there. It only gives it a 2-bar attack. But I can assure you with these settings, it is quite potent offensively, and it absolutely is a beast defensively. And I will show you why in some clips, but also tell you why as we go through these settings. So first, defensively, as you can see, you got 4 backs and you got a wall of midfielders with 3 central midfielders. What I love about this formation is that it sits the 3 central midfielders in a line. For whatever reason in UFL, I like this better than, say, 2 CDMs, 1 CM, or 2 CDMs, 1 CAM, or 2 cams once, whatever. You get what I'm saying. I don't like when they're not in line with each other, and here's why. Defensively, when you're constantly switching between each of your defensive players, tweaking their positioning, trying to block passing lanes, deciding when to commit on a tackle, providing back pressure, when they're in a line like this, it just essentially creates this wall of players. It's easy to switch between when they're like this, right? Sometimes when they're out of line, where there's like a CDM, then 2 cams or 2 CMs or whatever it is, sometimes the switching can be a hassle in game. When they're in line like this, it's just a simple flick, and you can get really good and really quick at switching between each of your players, each of your CMs defensively, and that can be really helpful. And we'll get into why the attack is so potent, despite what it says on the game explanation, despite what it looks like. But first, into the tactics. You can pause this as usual and mark all these down, but I'll quickly go through them so you just get an idea of why I chose the settings I chose. Okay, so defensive style, pressure on every touch. I want this to be an in-your-face formation where once the attack loses the ball, the opposition is looking at a tough time to keep it, right? I want to try to get it right back just with how the formation's set up. So I don't want to go pressure after possession loss, though, because it takes your players out of their shape too much, and it toasts your stamina. So instead of going balance or pressure after possession loss, I did the middle ground with pressure on heavy touch for the defensive style. Depth of defense, I went with a high depth tied into the pressure situation, right? I want the opposition to feel pressure right away and have to try to get the ball through that wall of midfielders. Before they can even get to your defensive 4, I want them to possibly and likely lose the ball, right? That's the goal. So a high depth of defense. Width of defense, I went just with your balanced 5, right down the middle. The width of the defense wasn't as important for me because I know that if up until the patch, I can move my wingbacks out wide manually to get the L1 triangle switch taken care of. And then outside of that, I'm comfortable with my defensive presence, especially with the 3 central midfielders. So I just went right down the middle with the 5 width. As far as attacking, the attacking style, as you know, if you see my previous videos, I typically go long ball or fast attack, more often fast attack. In this case, I went long ball just because I want those 3 central midfielders more defensive and in their shape, their natural shape. And with fast attack, what I found, there's not much of a difference as far as my attacking 3 players, right? But the one big difference I saw with fast attack is it involves more forward runs with your central midfielders, whereas long ball, it's more focused on the forward runs for your wingers and your striker, right? So you can test it out and see which one you like, but that's why I went with long ball. Players in the box, again, if you see my previous videos, I always go 6. It works for me for what I do on corners. Tweak that based on what works for you on corners. Now, this is where it is vastly different from other tactics, other formations. The width of attack, I went narrow. You could go 1, you could go 2, you could go 3 for narrow. I just split the difference and went 2 on 2 blocks, 2 bars, whatever you want to call it. Anywhere 1 through 3 is narrow. The reason why I did this is because there's a sweet spot where I want my wingers, my left mid and right mid in this formation. Now, what many of you are going to see and probably ask is why not just go with the 4-3-3 that has the 3 CMs? It's because of the setup of the wing midfielders, right? I've tested every variation of the 4-3-3 out, and it works very good, this setup. Any 4-3-3 does. But why I like this 4-5-1 is not first and foremost the setting of the wing mids when I combine the narrow width of attack with the duties that you are about to see, but also defensively. The way this defensive block sets up in a 4-5-1, I like it better, right? It's so much pressure right off the bat when your opponent tries to win the ball and work it up. Say they steal it from Holland or a winger, and then they have to try to work the ball up to even get an attack. This setup in the 4-5-1 is just excellent. So that's why I choose this over the 4-3-3, and you will see that sweet spot I'm talking about as we get up to the wing midfielders and then furthermore into the clips of the games that you can pause, rewatch, and you'll see what I'm talking about. With that being said, starting with the goalkeeper, always balance and passive. Never go with the aggressive settings for the goalkeeper because I don't want them running out and giving up goals that they otherwise shouldn't have. Center backs never touch. If you come from EAFC, you get that. Just leave them on their regular settings every time for your center backs. My wing backs, the attacking width, I always have them close to the sideline simply because I want them as a passing option when I win the ball. Just a way to serve the ball out wide and get it out of pressure and potentially start my attack from those wing backs. So they're always close to the sideline. Now, attack support is don't cross the halfway line. This is because in every formation except for the 5-2-1-2 where the wingbacks are a key component of my attack and providing width, but in every other formation, including this one, they're in the most defensive setting. So the attack support is going to be don't cross halfway line. Defensive style is going to be holding position, and pass interceptions, as with all my field players, is situational, right? I want my wingbacks to stay in line with my center backs. I do not want to give the opponent any open opportunity to play a long switch to a winger and have a hole to then come at my center backs or go to goal or whatever the case may be. So I keep them on the most defensive setting, just like my center backs. Really, it's very similar to the center backs. You just don't have to touch the center back settings for the wing backs. You obviously want to switch that attacking width to close to the sideline. I strongly suggest you do that for your wingbacks too, just so when you win the ball, you have some width to play the ball out of pressure. Okay, moving into central midfielders. Okay, they are going to be your first line of defense. That is their most important role in this formation. You see them in a straight line. Look on how the formation sets up, on screen. In game, it's much the same. And why this is actually relevant is because when they are jagged, right? When there's, let's say, a CDM and two CMs, or a CM, two CMs and a CDM, whatever, or a CAM and two CMs, you get the picture. When you are manually switching between them, sometimes the right player switch doesn't register when they're jagged. I've noticed that. And your opponents, actually, especially better opponents, can play passes through those holes that are created when they're jagged like that. When they're all three set up as the same, which in this case it's three CMs, in game they're in a line where you can quickly switch between them and manually move them into a passing lane or into a dribbling lane. So the setup's easy. Attacking sports don't cross halfway line. Crosses into the box, no. Hold your position. And then, of course, for pass interceptions, situational. So the settings are very easy, but it's so helpful in game to have them in that straight line. You can move Chouamini a little back. You can move Camavinga a little out wide, or whoever your players are. But for me, that's why. If you can move Joelinton into a position where you don't want a player to dribble, then quickly switch to Chouamini and block the passing lane. And it's just so easy to manually switch between them and manually get them into the places you want. As far as the attack goes, I just need them as an outlet pass, as a trailing pass, and any of these three are capable of doing that. On your team, it's probably the same because I don't need them making runs into the box or making any crazy plays in the attack. They're just simply a passing option to either recycle my attack or to alleviate pressure and get going again, right? Moving into the important attacking roles, first off, the wingers, right? As I said earlier, attacking width is on narrow, and that ties into these wingers and where I want them. The attacking styles, attacking runs, attacking width. This is the important one, close to the middle, okay? I'll go more into that in a second. Crosses, of course, make yourself available for crosses into the box. Defensive support, nope. I want them all the way up the field, right? Stay up front, and then pass interceptions like every other player is situational. why I chose close to the middle for attacking with. I actually experimented with close to the sideline as well as balance and seen if it would work well with the narrow attacking with under tactics, but it doesn't. Basically, when I had them close to the sideline, it totally overrode my narrow attacking with settings, and they were all the way out wide. When they were balanced, they were a little bit better, but still not in that sweet spot. And you'll see the sweet spot I'm talking about in the clips, but essentially, with these settings, attacking runs close to the middle, and then the defensive support stay up front. They're basically pushed up from the picture you see on screen right now and pushed in closer to the corner of that 18. And what it allows is for this attack that's pretty similar to the 4-2-4 that I showed, where it's linear but very dangerous. You can always have that trailing pass if you need to kind of recycle, like I said, with one of your CMs that's available, that's open, right? But other than that, what you're trying to do is work the ball into your striker, and then he's going to play it out to whichever one of your wingers, and then you have the ability to take a touch in and finesse, or there are several options if your opponent starts honing in on blocking that scoring option, right? You can turn out and go to the wing. You can take a touch, play the ball back in your striker. You can literally work the ball into several different areas between your three attackers. That's the beauty of this formation. You'll see some of that in the clips. The last setting, though, the strikers on the most attacking settings. Attacking styles, attacking runs, defensive support, nope, stay up front. Pass interceptions, situational as always. So let's get into some clips. Couple things I want you to notice. I'm not using any type of L1 triangle cross, and there's so many passing options on the ground to be able to work the ball up. It's a beautiful thing, right? You still have that width from your wingers. You have that width from your wing backs if you have to go back there. And then you see here the shots blocked, but this is what I'm talking about, that interplay between your three most attacking players, your two wingers, and your striker. Notice how the setup I have, it doesn't look anything like it does on the initial setup on the screen, right? Your wing midfielders are more like wingers, and you see the beautiful goals that can come from it. There was a great finish from Mbappe after great work from the attacking players. Same thing here. You see Haaland's getting the ball to his feet a lot. You still want him under attacking runs and stay up front because you want him stretching out the defense. There's still going to be the opportunity to get him in behind, especially as your opponent's not looking for it. You see here I attempted, and it worked out. Don't know why I didn't let that clip play out, but either way, you got the gist. That's why you have him under attacking run still and stay up front. But you see here, look at that. The opponent won the ball, didn't even get a chance to go anywhere because right away, interception from one of my center mids. So the options are endless in the attack. Now I have it, like I said, I have it in the sweet spot for my wingers. They lost it there, but I wanted to show you all the room out here on the wings, right? You just have to practice this, and you just see the spaces available. You see the passing options are available, and you'll get used to all these things. No different than I'm getting used to it. But you see there, this is going to happen so often. You're going to work the ball around those attackers and create so many chances through it. And there's so many passing options on the ground. No big L1 triangle switches and no crosses, right? Let's say they nerf crosses out. You're fine. As you can see, the formation works great. But even if crosses are still viable after the patch, you've seen all that space on the wings where I can get it to my wingers. They're going to think I'm going into the middle. They're going to be focused on marking out my pass to, for instance, Haaland. And I can just turn outside, drive the byline, and cross if they're still viable. So there's just so many options. But I just wanted to show you some clips so you didn't see this on screen, how it looks now, and think, how is this going to be attacking? Just trust me, trust the settings. Go in, utilize it yourself, and see how you like it. Let me know in the comments if this is a formation that ends up working out for you. And just keep grinding, keep having fun, and until next time, have a good one.